Hey everybody, I'm Don Amero from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I just released a brand new album called Evolution, and I'm here to do a Q&A with Lady K.
Congratulations on your 6th album, Evolution. It comes out today, August 24th. What does it feel like for you knowing that that is officially out?
It's like a sense of relief and joy, but also kind of like it's a bit strange. It's like, for me, a little anticlimactic in a way because of the fact that like we've been living with this for 18 months already,
Wow.
right? So we've had it on the go and kind of putting it together, and so it's kind of like, oh, finally this is here, and so we're just excited to finally be able to share it because we've been kind of sitting on some of the music for a little while, and we've released 3 singles, but in terms of the actual album and starting to really hype it up, like I released the whole liner notes today and kind of shared that on Facebook, and just to say, hey, here's the story, and it just feels really good to finally have it out.
Does the process of releasing your own songs ever get less nerve-wracking?
No, honestly, I think as your confidence grows, I think you kind of just put stuff out there that you believe in because you feel like this is a part of you, and I think for me, after doing this for 11 years full time, I've gotten to a place where I know who I am, I know what I want to do, you know, I've got great support that has kind of carried me to this point, and so I can trust in that. There's a bit of nervousness in terms of like wading to new waters sometimes, but at the end of the day, I lay my head down at night and I feel really good about how things are unfolding. So.
Well, you should feel good because it's an awesome album. I love it. I've been listening to it for a while now, and it's just, I really, really do like it. How would you describe Evolution? Because from what I understand, it's all about embracing change.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what it is. To me, there's a threefold answer to that. So number one was, I've started off in the music industry as kind of like a folk and rootsy guy. You know, I've still got a lot of friends in that scene. And I think when you get singer-songwriters, kind of stripped down acoustic, you know, even you know, country guys or rock guys, it still feels kind of that rootsy kind of style. So there's a close relationship between roots and country, and I've always sort of tiptoed that line. And I felt like with this album, we evolved into kind of jumping in with both feet and really kind of immersing ourselves in the country scene. So that's one. Number two is, for the first time in my career, I've took songs from other writers, which was new for me because I've always felt like I need to have this connection to the song.
Right.
And so, which is interesting because then you got to find connection in somebody else's story, right? And but there's these great songs that exist and need a home, and so for me, I had to kind of flick the switch, going, these songs could be a home here in me, and that was sort of part of the evolution. And the last one was I covered a song probably before your time by Blue Rodeo. It's a song called "Try," a killer song.
It's a banger.
Yeah,
it really
it's a
is.
great song, and it's a Canadian classic. It's been 31 years since that song came out,
Wow.
and I don't know if there's been a whole lot of covers done of it that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of pay homage to a band that I love. I'm a big fan of Jim Cuddy, and I wanted to just put this thing out there. And so yeah, it's the first cover from me ever on an album. So yeah,
That's all very exciting.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned that this album is the first album that you've kind of really delved into the country genre.
Mm-hmm.
So why country now?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't like we've forced anything. It was sort of like just again the natural evolution of me.
Yeah.
Was sort of like it led to this place. We as artists, I think I can't speak for everybody, and I know for me, every time we put a song out there, an album out there, we kind of want to make a big splash. And I felt like the pool that I could make the biggest splash was in this country music scene, and because it wasn't like I was, again, forcing anything. It was, we felt like this is where we belonged,
Right.
you know, in this season, and we worked with Bart McKay and Murray Pulver, who are great musicians and country guys, and so we just asked them for some help to make sure we could swim in this pool. Yeah.
And do you think you're going to stay in the country genre, or will your sound evolve?
You know, I have so many influences in my life. I have, you know, I'm a country fan. I'm a soul R&B fan. I listen to a lot of different pop for sure. Just so many different things have sort of influenced my music. People often ask me what I'm like, and I say it's like John Mayer meets Keith Urban meets Ed Sheeran.
Ooh, I like
so
that.
it's this blend of music. So
Yeah.
I mean, I can't determine what tomorrow is going to bring, but I know for now, like I think my music will always feel like this. But I really hope that it does evolve. And sort of we've set the bar here, and I know for sure we want to keep raising that bar. So where that ends up, I don't know. But the guy you meet today and now is the same guy you'll meet in 10 years from now, only evolved.
Well, we'll just have to do another interview then in 10 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a favorite memory from creating this album?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like putting a puzzle together, right? Is there one particular piece? I don't remember them all. I think I remember last year driving around with my manager, and we were listening to songs, and we're like, oh, these are so many great songs. We listened to about 70, 80 songs, and there's so many great songs, and we just kept saying, that's a hit, that's a hit, that's a hit. And we both looked at each other and said, we can't do these songs just because they're hits. Like, they're hits for certain artists, probably not for me. And so we had to find the ones that did fit with me, and the ones we did choose, I think, were hits, hopefully for me. But in terms of the best memory, I would say it's the song Church. Which it's done very well. It was the first single we released last year, and I actually sent it back. I said, I don't think the song's for me.
Oh my gosh.
And about a week had passed, and my manager said, go listen again. And so when I listened on the second time, I was thinking pretty heavily about my dad, who had passed away a year earlier. And my dad, like, the song Church is all about the great outdoors being the church, right? So it was being amongst trees and water and fishing, whatever, right? And sort of that being where you kind of have this divine intervention almost, right? And that my dad said numerous times in my life that he felt closest to God when he was out in nature. And so when I made that connection, I was like, I have to do this song. And honestly, I kind of feel like my dad from the other side was orchestrating things. So for me, that's a song that is definitely up there in terms of closeness and the best memory of this album. Yeah.
And you released a music video for Church, which is absolutely stunning.
Cool.
Like, I watched it and I was just like, oh my God, the scenes and the shots are
That's
beautiful.
My boy. That's my little boy in there. Yeah,
I was gonna get to that too. What was it like being able to include your son on this project?
Yeah, well, so the guy that we chose, Ken, we just kind of put a call out on Facebook and said, anybody out there, and I had to look for a particular look, looks closely like my dad, like has a strange resemblance, because I mean, my dad was gone, so he couldn't be part of the process, but so he wanted to find somebody. I asked my father-in-law, but he doesn't want to do this kind of stuff. No, but he's just a friend and a fan, and said, I'm happy to help. So we brought him in and paid him a little bit and helped him out, but in terms of having my son in, it's really cool to be able to fold my family into this journey, and I think not forcing anybody to do things. Like, the last thing I want to do is force my kid to be like, you're going to be in arts and music, and I think that they're just excited, as I am, about sort of how things are going, and we're just, we're grassroots, people that are just kind of organically following as each door opens, we all walk through it together.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it was very lovely that you were able to have your son there, and like you said, the song kind of reminded you of your father, right? And then to have your son in the music video, it's 3 generations.
Pretty special,
yeah. And where did you film?
The church scene is right in Winnipeg. There's just outside, called St. Norbert, little town, and it was a 3-walled church. So there's the scene in the bridge when I walk out of the church, and I walk and I sort of magically appear in a forest, which took some work. But because of that third wall, and because it was so tiny and small, that was really what we wanted. We wanted to kind of like, it's a song called Church, play the song in a church, to emerge into the forest was really this magical thought we had. Could we pull it off? So we did that, and then the forest scene is shot in Birds Hill Park in Winnipeg, just outside of Winnipeg as well. And then my family, my in-laws, have a cabin just about 45 minutes out of town called Baconia, is the little area. So we shot that in sort of Baconia area.
It ain't no Sunday morning, it ain't no preacher preaching, but out here in the quiet, I can hear him speaking to me. Out where the wild things go, out on this country road, the sun, the stars, and the Holy Ghost. Yeah, I go to church.
You mentioned in a previous interview that it's taken 11 years to evolve into the artist you are today. Has living in Winnipeg and having Indigenous roots impacted that 11-year journey?
The short answer is yes, absolutely. I think being a Winnipegger and being amongst the scene of such, immense talent. I mean, Joey Landreth, Begonia, so many. I mean, there's many I can name that are all escaping me at this moment. But there's such a great amount of talent there that has really kind of blown up across the country. And being amongst that, I think they also set a bar that you feel like, okay, now that's where it's at. I got to work hard to get to that place. So that, and in terms of like the landscape of Winnipeg, I think comes through in songs whether you know it or not, and the fact that it's pretty. Winter 13 months of the year.
Yep.
It's pretty brutal, and it kind of leads you to sort of, you're incubated quite a bit, and you sort of go into writing mode. And then in terms of my indigeneity, my dad's from Nova Scotia, so I have East Coast Acadian European roots on dad's side. My mom's from Manitoba, so I have Cree and Métis roots on my mom's side. And for me, honestly, growing up, I didn't have a big connection to that part of my history. But when I was 23, 24, I went to a show. My friend Steve Bell was doing a concert where he released a whole album of Bruce Cockburn songs, the legendary Canadian singer-songwriter. Yeah. And he did a song called Red Brother, Red Sister. He wrote the song, many years ago. And the song talks about the injustices done towards Indigenous people. And I remember sitting there hearing this song for the first time, and I wept. It was in a church, and I was in a pew, and I was just crying, and I realized two things that day. One, I wanted to do what Steve was doing. I wanted to be the kind of person that was on stage moving people with stories and music. And two, I realized that I also wanted to be on the front lines of changing the conversation that people have with Indigenous people and about Indigenous people. And I think sometimes, Indigenous people in this country have absolutely gotten a bad rap. And I think part of it is there hasn't been enough acknowledgement of the history in that, and the reciprocated effects of what has come about because of residential schools and the atrocities Indigenous people have suffered in this country. So I wanted to be on the front lines of changing that conversation and being the kind of person that was saying, it's not always what you think it is. Indigenous people are not. It's not all poverty. It's not all brokenness. It's not all pain. That's a part of the story. And I wanted to be part of the story that was saying we need to change how we discuss Indigenous people in this country. Yeah.
Is there anyone specific that has helped you through this journey?
There's so many. I have a lot of friends and mentors. Steve Bell has become a great friend and supporter to me. He is a very well thought and well spoken man who has really kind of inspired me to be a great storyteller and a thoughtful performer. Vince Fontaine, who is with a band called Eagle and Hawk and Indian City out of Winnipeg, and he's a another well-connected Indigenous guy in Winnipeg who again has taken me under his wing and showed me some interesting stories about our history and the connectedness that we all have. But when I think about the whole, I don't know where you wanted to go with that story, but for me, one of the biggest things in my early life as a sort of starting as an artist was my teacher, Sophia. She was a dance teacher at my high school in Winnipeg, Sister High School. And when my family was going through this phase of brokenness and just hardship, she really took me under her wing and was kind of like my school mom. And I remember her buying me shoes, and she was my dance teacher for a while. Not a lot of people know this. I used to teach breakdance and hip hop.
Really?
It's a form of life. I don't have the skills anymore, but so she really was somebody who kind of fostered me. I don't know if that's the word she would use, but she definitely took me under her wing and loved me through a process of my life where I was really suffering and didn't know who to go to. So she was kind of a mentor early on. So, and I still talk to her now, and we have a chance to connect. Yep, absolutely, yeah. Not as much as I'd like, but it's she's definitely one of those people that if it were not for her, I absolutely sure I would not be here.
Wow. Yeah. That's very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, congratulations again on Evolution.
Thanks.
It was awesome talking to you.
Yeah.
If listeners can take one thing away with them from this album, what do you hope it is?
My biggest hope with anything that I do musically is that I hope that, these songs there's a lot of funness on this album that I haven't done a lot of fun in my past catalog music. It's been great, but I really wanted people to kind of listen to this music and really just enjoy the sound and the soundscapes, But the biggest thing for me is I believe music is medicine, and I say this quite often, is that my hope is that what I bring to the table, I know makes me feel good, but in turn I hope that it makes the listener feel good as well and encourages and inspires them to go out and live their best life, because I feel like it's this life is too short. The song "Live While I'm Alive" is very much about like making the most out of every day, and I had that come to my mind when I realized I'm living the dream life. Honestly, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, but I'm happy, I'm content, and I'm successful. My bills are paid, my kids are fed, and honestly, to me, that's success. And I've been really had an incredible ride so far, and I feel like I've only just begun. So, long answer to that is that I just hope people feel encouraged and inspired and cared for through this music. Yeah.
Well, I think they do. It affected me. It touched me. So there's one person out there for sure.
Thanks.
Well, I'd like to give a big shout out to Strut Entertainment for facilitating this interview and for the Hilton Toronto for hosting us. Abracadabra, let me see more Lady K videos now. It worked. There's more magic right over there. Click it. Click it before it disappears.